One of the most dangerous criminals in history didn't end up in prison because of murder. He wasn't finally caught because of violence or robbery or being the head of one of the biggest criminal organizations in America. Instead, he went to prison because of taxes. His name was Al Capone. Think about that for a second. For years, police struggled to stop one of the most powerful gangsters alive. But in the end, a tax law succeeded where bullets couldn't. That raises a strange question. How can something as boring as taxes be powerful enough to bring down a mafia boss? And if taxes are that powerful, why does every country on earth depend on them? Why do we all keep paying them? Even though almost everyone complains about them, the answer is much stranger than you think. Here's something almost nobody thinks about. Every morning, millions of people leave their homes without wondering whether the bridge ahead will collapse. They stop at red lights, trusting the cars coming from the other direction will stop too. They call 911 expecting someone to answer. They drink water without questioning if it's safe. It feels normal, so normal, that we forget none of these things happen by accident behind every road, every bridge, every firefighter, every public school. There's one invisible system connecting them all. Taxes. But here's the strange part. Most people think taxes are something the government takes from them. In reality, taxes are something society puts together. Imagine a city with 1 million people. Each person contributes just a tiny piece. Alone. Your contribution barely changes anything, but together, those tiny pieces become hospitals, airports, streetlights, emergency services, things that no single person could realistically build alone. Economists call these public goods, things everyone benefits from, even if they never paid for them directly. And that's where the first mystery begins. Because if everyone enjoys these things, why doesn't everyone simply let someone else pay? Why not keep your money and let your neighbors fund the roads instead? At first, that sounds like a smart idea, until everyone starts thinking the same way, and that's when the entire system begins to fall apart. What you just imagined actually has a name. Economists call it the free rider problem. Imagine a small town with 100 people. The town needs a bridge. Without it, children can't get to school, ambulances can't reach the hospital quickly, businesses lose customers. Everyone agrees the bridge is important, but then someone says, "Why should I pay? I'll still use the bridge if everyone else pays for it." Then another person says the same thing, and another. Soon, almost everyone is thinking exactly the same way. The result? No one pays, the bridge is never built. Ironically, everyone loses. This is one of the biggest problems every society has ever faced. People naturally want the benefits without paying the costs. And that's not because people are evil, it's because our brains are designed to protect our own resources first, which is exactly why voluntary payments rarely work on a national scale. Taxes solve that problem, not by asking everyone nicely, but by making sure everyone contributes, whether they want to or not. At first, that sounds unfair, but imagine the opposite. Imagine if paying taxes became completely optional tomorrow. Some people would still pay, many wouldn't. Now ask yourself, would you trust millions of strangers to voluntarily fund hospitals, fire departments, road maintenance, national defense every single year? Probably not. Because history has shown something interesting. People love public services, but they also hope someone else will pay for them, and that's why taxes survived for thousands of years. Not because everyone loves them, but because no one has found a better system that works for millions of people. But if taxes are necessary, why do they still make us so angry? The answer is hidden inside your own brain. Have you ever noticed something strange? Imagine I gave you $100. You'd probably be happy. Now imagine something different. The same $100 is already in your wallet, and I take it away. The amount of money is exactly the same. But somehow, the second one feels much worse. Why? Because your brain doesn't treat gains and losses equally. Psychologists call this loss aversion. Simply put, losing $100 feels more painful than gaining $100 feels good. And that's exactly what happens every payday. When your salary arrives, you don't usually think about the roads you used, or the firefighters protecting your city, or the clean water flowing into your home. Instead, your eyes go straight to one number, the amount that disappeared. Your brain sees it as a loss, not as a contribution. That's why paying taxes feels emotionally different from donating money to charity. With a donation, you choose to give. With taxes, the choice is made for you, and humans naturally dislike losing control over something they believe belongs to them. But here's the surprising part. Psychology explains why taxes feel painful. It doesn't explain why some people seem to pay much less than others, because that's where one of the biggest misunderstandings about taxes begins. You've probably heard this before. Rich people don't pay taxes. It's one of the most repeated claims on the internet, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. The truth is more complicated. and honestly, more interesting. There are actually two completely different ways people can avoid paying taxes. The first one is called tax evasion. That's simple. You lie, you hide your income, you fake your records, you break the law. If you're caught, you can be fined or even sent to prison. That's exactly what happened to Al Capone. He wasn't convicted for being a mob boss. He was convicted for hiding taxable income. But then there's another method, one that's completely legal. It's called tax avoidance. And this is where many people get confused. Imagine two people trying to enter a stadium. One person climbs over the fence. The other walks through the front gate using a discount coupon that the stadium itself created. Both people pay less, but only one of them broke the rules. That's the difference. Tax evasion breaks the law. Tax avoidance uses the law. Large companies and wealthy individuals often hire lawyers, accountants, and tax specialists, not to break the law, but to understand every detail of it. Sometimes, a single sentence in the tax code can save millions of dollars. Legally. That's why the debate about taxes never really ends. Because people aren't only asking, are the rich paying taxes? They're asking something much bigger: is the system fair? And fairness is one of the hardest things any government has ever tried to create. But here's the twist. Even if tomorrow every billionaire paid twice as much tax, one question would still remain. Could we actually live in a world without taxes at all? So, what if we simply got rid of taxes? At first, it sounds amazing. No income tax, no property tax, no business tax. You keep every dollar you earn. Who wouldn't want that? But now ask yourself something else. Tomorrow morning, who pays the firefighters? Who repairs the roads after an earthquake? Who keeps airports running? Who pays teachers? Who funds hospitals before the next pandemic arrives? Because removing taxes doesn't remove the bill. It only changes who pays it. Some people point to countries with little or no income tax, and they're right. Those countries do exist. But here's what many people don't realize. Their governments still need money. Some rely heavily on oil and natural gas. Others earn huge amounts from state-owned investments or other sources of national revenue. In other words, the source of the money changes. The need for money doesn't. That's why, despite thousands of years of debate, no large modern country has completely replaced taxes with a better system. Not because taxes are perfect, far from it. People will always argue about how much tax is fair. Who should pay more? How governments spend it? Those debates will probably never end. But the existence of taxes has never really been the biggest question. The biggest question has always been this. Can millions of strangers build a society together without everyone contributing something? So far, history's answer has been no. And maybe that's the real reason taxes have survived for so long. Not because people love paying them, but because every society eventually discovers the same truth. A civilization isn't held together by roads or bridges or buildings. It's held together by the willingness of millions of people to support things they may never personally use so that everyone else can. The next time you look at your paycheck and notice part of it is gone, don't just ask, why did the government take my money? Ask a different question. If nobody paid taxes, what would disappear first? Because once you truly think about that, you stop seeing taxes as just money. You start seeing them as the price of living in a society.